Alright dudes, for some odd reason I just unlocked Hydra on my free-to-play account, and yeah, like, it just unlocks way too early. I'm not ready for it at all. So what is up guys, this is Corbin. If you want to be prepared for Hydra, then you want to probably hold on to some of the champs that we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to be covering a lot of budget options for damage dealers into Hydra. These are going to be epic quality champions, a few void epics, but mostly, you know, friendly affinity epics, the kind of epics that you can pull from your ancient shards during 2x events, and are just very, very easy, comparative, I guess, to other better Hydra options to get your hands on, right? Epic champs that are budget, but busted. Let's do this, man. Hey, before we do get started, if you're looking to play along with the good old free-to-play account and start off your own free-to-play adventure, then make sure to do so by clicking on the beginner promo link down below right now to start off your new raid account. You get yourself 4 free epic champions, including Ugo as a starting champ, and just a bunch of S-tier Giga Chads as you level up your account. Best way to start off your new raid account, bar none. This beginner promo link is insane, and I wish that I'd started off my main account with it, because yeah, frankly, I started off my main account with nothing. That's how much of an absolute noob I was when I first started, man. So there you go. Just make sure that you sign out of Plarium Player before clicking on that beginner promo link to ensure that you get your hands on all those saucy rewards. Okay, man. Champion number 1 is gonna be an HP burn Giga Chad. You know who's coming if you played the game for a little while. And feel free, by the way, to play along in the comments if you feel like I miss any very, very accessible champs that new players can get their hands on and build out with kind of peace of mind that they're going to be great into Hydra later on. Then make sure to put them down below in the comments. On the A1 for Mordecai, he's got an attacks 1 enemy, has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%, has a 60% chance instead if the target is under HP burn debuff. Obviously, you can't be decreasing the turn meter of the Hydra heads, but what you can be using this in is places, well, actually really only Spider. Mordecai is great into Spider's Den for setting all of the Spiderlings on fire and then decreasing the boss's turn meter with his A1. But let's just cut to the chase, man. His A3 is where it's at, right? Has a 100% chance when fully bugged up of placing an HP burn debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Also places an increased attack buff on allies as well, which is great. It is only bookable down to a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not absolutely reliable HP burn, but it's reliable enough. Great into Spider, fantastic into Hydra, because you might notice that this A3 does not attack all enemies and then have a chance of dealing the HP burn. It simply places the HP burn debuff without dealing damage. What this means is that even though Mordecai is a Force Affinity champion, he cannot weak hit an enemy with this skill, right? Which of course is going to drastically reduce the chance that you place the debuffs against the Hydra heads, whose affinities are shifting all the time with every new Hydra rotation. You don't have to worry about that with Mordecai. He's going to be a reliable burner all the time into Hydra. He also brings a little bit of a 10 meter decrease as well, and 10 meter fill for all allies on his A2. So he does bring a little bit of extra utility in the form of 10 meter fill into Hydra as well, but just all in all, a great HP burner option. Moving on to another HP burner that is often overlooked, and honestly, I'm pretty excited that I might eventually be using this guy on my free-to-play account, because this is a great option if you have not pulled any HP burners or any good HP burners on your account by the time you want to start taking on Hydra. As long as you've been farming up your secret rooms in Doom Tower, then the fragments that you are gathering up after Archmage Helmet, Akoth the Seared will be the second champion that you get your hands on via fragments from farming Doom Tower secret rooms, right, on normal. So really quite accessible as an HP burner, and his kit reads as follows, man. Attacks 1 enemy, chance of placing decreased crit rate debuff for 2 turns. Fine, you know. His A2 attacks all enemies, 20% chance only of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. However, the chance of placing the debuff increases by 20% for each alive enemy. Okay. There's always 4 Hydra heads alive. Even when they're decapitated, they still count as a living enemy, in some sense, I guess. And so it's actually 100% land rate, which is great. He's just a very, very reliable HP burner. I actually forget what his A3 even does. Okay, it's another attack all enemies, so 2 attack all enemy skills, has a 50%, or rather a 70% chance when bucked of increasing the cooldowns of all skills by 2 turns on enemies under HP burn debuffs, so not super useful into Hydra. Also places a shield buff equal to 20% of this champ's max HP on all allies for 2 turns, so a little bit of extra survivability as well. Definitely a little bit of a hop up on Mordecai in some ways, but of course with him being magic affinity, he can weak hit on the HP burn. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, but still just a very, very good budget option to take into Hydra. Next up, man, and we're getting towards the slightly more... Dude, this guy is like an old but gold. Everybody's going to refer to this guy in their videos. Before we go ahead and cover Royal Guard, hey, if you haven't used good old promo code GameLeap already, it's above my head right now. Make sure to go ahead and get it used, man. Promo code GameLeap will get your hands on 10 free experience brews, a free energy refill, and 100,000 silver. Yeah, might as well use it, man. Share it out with your clanmates, all of that good stuff. Help your brothers out if you've used it already yourself, man. So, good old Royal Guard. This is one of those epics that, dude, it's hype to pull this guy in the super, super early game. What's great about Royal Guard is, well, dude, I mean, he's good into many, many areas of the game. Let's just break him down, man. He's got a strong version, decreased defense on his A1, which is awesome. On his A2, and attack all enemies. Damage increases according to enemy max HP. Man, I've got a Royal Guard built out on my main account. I use him in Spider. Still, some other areas of the game too. Ice Golem. Yeah, he can crit for like 1.7 million or something into Spider. Like, it's obscene. It's ridiculous. And like, my Royal Guard isn't like the best build out in the world. I think I've done pretty okay with him. But yeah, he can absolutely hit like a truck. Now, this does mean that because its damage increases according to enemy max HP, it means that the more max health your opponents have, the bigger hits they're going to take. And so into more difficult content and higher level content and higher stage content, this is going to be hitting harder and harder and harder. You might try out Royal Guard into like normal mode Hydra and be like, what the hell, man? He's barely doing any damage, you know? Well, the point is he kind of scales up with the content, which is why he's actually a pretty solid damage dealer. Why else is he good into Hydra? On his A3, attacks 4 times at random, each hit with a 75% chance bugged of placing the strong version of decreased speed for a couple of turns as well. So, excellent, excellent stuff to bring into Hydra. Decreased speed is, of course, crucially important. Having a couple of champs that can apply that debuff is going to be big. And yeah, each hit also has a 60% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 25%. So he's great into other areas of the game too. Royal Guard, man. Old but gold. What a Chad. Yeah, I was also hyped when I pulled that guy, man. Next champ that we've got to touch on has got to be just another max HP damage dealer. So we won't spend too long on good old Husk. But dude, this guy is a Giga Chad. He's great for just kind of account progression because he has a pretty decent chance to place provoke on his A1. So great into just early kind of wave content, stuff like that. He also has an attack all enemies chance of placing stun as well on his A2. So really, really good for wave control indeed. This is the kind of champ that if you pull this guy in the first like month of your raid account or something, like your very first Ancient Chad 2x event, you probably just rush him to level 60 because you're basically guaranteed to use him. In all content everywhere for almost everything, and then he'll still find use in Hydra as well when you eventually start to get started into like normal mode Hydra and stuff. Because yeah, once again, damage inflicted by this A2 is proportional to enemy max HP. So just like Royal Guard, Husk, he might be an HP scaling champion, but he can hit like an absolute truck, similar to Royal Guard, right? Millions of damage. Very, very good. His A3, you probably want to disable this going into Hydra. It's an attack when enemy damage increases according to this champion's current HP. Yeah, you're much, much better off just putting Husk in a reflex set so he has a chance to reduce the cooldown of his skills. You then disable the A3 so that you never use it, and you're just spamming the A2 over and over and over and over and over, or as much as you possibly can, and hoping for the reflex set to trigger the cooldown reduction on this A2. And yeah, you're going to have a great time with this champ everywhere, but especially in Hydra, man. So he is awesome. Next up, a champ that isn't spotlighted quite enough, I don't feel, for taking into Hydra, and he's kind of team comp dependent. It's not Romero, who you can get with our beginner promo link, which of course is down below in the video description. Not Romero, okay? Romero is just more of like an all-round support style champ. Probably one of the weaker champs on the beginner promo link, but the other three are absolutely S tier, so they more than make up for it. It's going to be Fernax, man. It's going to be Fernax. It's going to be Fernax for one simple reason. The guy probably has the most powerful A1 in the entire game. The damage scaling on this rivals that of legendary damage dealers and legendary champions. Very, very powerful. Except it double hits. Okay. Insane. Most double hitter champs on the A1 will have about a 1.8 or a 2 damage scaling multiplier, right? 1.8 or a 2. Fernax has a 4.1 damage modifier on his A1, meaning it scales very, very nicely with his attack. and it can double hit. Unprecedented damage for an A1. So it attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target has any debuffs. Enemies killed by the skill cannot be revived. We don't care about the block revive in this case, in the case of Hydra, but what you want to do with your Phoenix is build him with 1 or 2 ally attack champions, right? The kind of champs that are going to, team up with a random ally or team up with your entire team to auto attack or just A1 into one enemy. You want to maximize the amount of times your Phoenix is using his A1. That's it, pretty much. You can play him alongside Teox. Teox is a just unreal, powerful, legendary damage dealer that was released recently. I believe he has like an ally attack, could combo up with the likes of Phoenix. There's many ally attack style champions that you can put Phoenix alongside in Hydra, and the guy can just hit like an absolute truck. For the sake of coverage, we will also talk about the rest of his kit as well, because it is not inconsequential. On his A2, he has an attack all enemies, 410 cooldown, so, you know, a little bit long on the old cooldown, but has a 80% chance booked of placing block buffs debuff for 2 10s. That alone is great, okay? It's not super reliable into Hydra, of course, because it's only 80% and it is a 410 cooldown, but this is a very powerful debuff to be bringing into Hydra as well. So maybe you run him alongside another slightly less than reliable buff blocker, I guess, against Hydra. Could work out pretty saucy. But yeah, that's his A2. It's also insane. And then on the A3, attacks one enemy, 60% chance of placing a strong decreased defense debuff and a decreased speed debuff for 2 10s as well. It's a single target hitter, but you know what? It's fine. Point is, Phoenix, when it comes to dealing damage, put him with an ally attacker, and he will absolutely smack. Okay. Next up, we have got, and we got to touch on this guy, man. I still don't have a goddamn Geomancer, dude. I still don't have one, man. It's starting to just feel a little bit sad at this point. I'm almost like 9 months in. I think we're almost exactly 9 months in on my main account. Pulled a lot of ancients on this account. No Geo, dude. This guy, I mean, just cut to the chase. Yeah, it's all about the A3. That's it, really. It's a 310 cooldown when fully booked up. 100% chance of placing an HP burn and a strong weaken debuff on the target for 3 10s. His A2, you just don't give a damn about this in the context of Hydra. His A1 is actually pretty good too. Attacks all enemies, has a chance of placing decreased accuracy for a couple of 10s. What people often do is run Geomancer in that reflex set, same as before, same as with Husk, and just spam this A3 as much as humanly possible and just maximize the amount of HP burns that you're getting off and spreading those HP burn and those weakened debuffs, and Geomancer can just do an incredible job. His passive is quite the read, but basically you're deflecting a bunch of damage and reflecting a bunch of damage that also then deals additional damage equal to 3% of the target's max HP. I'm not going to read through all this because I don't want to bore all of you guys, but this combined with HP burn damage, Geomancer is crazy as hell. Okay, he's insane into Demon Lord clan boss because of this passive and the HP burn as well. It also does scale up into Hydra. Geomancer is just a fantastic champion overall, as his champion scores are going to reveal. And yeah, that's Geo, man. Very acquirable as well. Only Force Affinity. You can pull this guy from your ancients. Yeah. What a Chad, man. Alright, man. That is going to be all for the epic champs that are more accessible. Next up for some Void epics, right? So a little bit more difficult to get your hands on, but hopefully you can grab one of these nerds during a Void Shard 2x event and the like. And you know full well, we've got to start off with obviously the most obvious one, which is going to be Oboro, who I actually can't see right now. Okay, there she is. Dude, she looks insane as well. Can I just say? Looks absolutely badass as hell. Crazy as hell. Insanely good. Oboro, her damage actually comes in the form of a A1, but you can do many things with Oboro. Really top tier Hydra champ for 2 reasons, right? First off is a A1. So it's an attack 1 enemy, has a chance of placing decreased defense, strong version, which is great right off the get-go, especially because we'll attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. Okay, nuts, right? Insane. Against Hydra, it's pretty easy, to be honest, to maintain 4 more debuffs, and so, yeah, more often than not, this attack is going to be an attack all enemies. It's going to be spreading decreased defense, which is great, and then you can actually pair up your Oboro eventually to be played alongside a Lady Mikage once you've got this fusion done, right? Why is this so good? It's because Lady Mikage is A3 right here. And this is like very, very long term, but this is just to say that Oboro is going to scale for a long time on your account, right? She's going to be great if you max her out first and foremost. Then when you finish the Mikage fusion and you finish that milestone and that goal on your account, she gets even better because Mikage places an increased attack and increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, then teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. Yeah, that means that Oboro is going to get to spam out her A1 even more and attack all enemies again, right? Even more again. So it's insane, right? It's insane the amount of damage that she's going to be able to get off. Now, another very, very cool thing about Oboro is that she brings an increased crit rate buff on herself, a perfect veil buff, and an increased crit damage buff on herself as well, which is sweet because she's bringing all of these self buffs. You can also build out your Oboro with, ideally, plenty of damage, but you can build her out with high resistance stats as well. And then she can also be tanking the Head of Mischief in Hydra too. So then she's just doing a crazy amount of work, right? The Head of Mischief is always going to be attacking into her, trying to steal her buffs because she's got the most buffs, but she's resisting its attempt to steal the buffs, so she's tanking the Mischief Head. Then she's doing a crazy, crazy amount of damage on top of that. And who knows, maybe you've got such crazy endgame gear that you can put her in a gear set that also benefits from attacking all enemies as well, you know, but yeah, that's super, super late game stuff. But that's Oboro, man. That's the long and short of this champ. I do have her on my account. I'm just yet to build her out. I should probably get to that. Man. She seems like a really, really exciting one to have in your back pocket, especially if you're approaching the Mikage fusion. Damn good one, man. Next champ that we gotta touch on is gonna be of the Ogrin tribes, and this is a champ that I use myself. Good old Skrank, dudes. Good old Skrank. Yeah, this guy's insane. This guy's crazy. He's quite squishy. At least I find that it's kind of tough to build him out with enough defense and enough damage to be doing like real damage and trying to hit like accuracy thresholds as well. But he is definitely a premium HP burner with his A3 attack all enemies. 100% chance of placing the HP burn buff debuff for 2 turns. Bookable down to a 3-turn cooldown. Also gets some 10 meter fill as well if at least one enemy is clipped with a crit, which is just great, right? Very, very lovely stuff. Even though it's an attack all enemies, he can't weak hit with this because of course he's a void champion, so he's never going to have like weak affinities going for him. His damage is also going to ramp over time as well, just a little bit in Hydra, which is great because of his passive. Increases this champion's attack and crit damage by 5%. Each time an HP burn debuff triggers on an enemy, stacks up to 25%. He places the weaken debuff on his A1, which is just another great debuff to be placing. 75% chance to land this weekend if the target is under an HP burn debuff. And I can't remember how this A2 works, so I've genuinely got to like read this over myself. It's a double hitter. Heals himself by 15% on each crit, which is a nice little bonus, nice to have. And then place increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if the target is under HP burn debuff. Okay, so he brings a little bit of self buff as well, man. But Skrank has been very, very instrumental on my account for getting started in Hydra. Helped me all the way through normal, up into hard. I could almost definitely scale him up into like brutal and beyond as well. But right now he's helping me out in hard mode Hydra. Paired up alongside Rathalos Blademaster, man. And they're definitely a very, very cool little duo. So that's Skrank, man. Epic champ. Really, really S tier quality. When it comes to Hydra and Spider, similar to the other HP burners that we have touched on. And alright, the next epic champ that we've got to cover, and that we totally didn't just completely screw up live on stream, so we're not shooting this again, is going to be Inquisitor Shamel, man. This guy, unbelievable. He makes it so that not only does he do like reasonable damage, but he also makes it so that the Head of Torment doesn't exist. Basically, right? The Head of Torment, whenever it takes damage from one of your champs, it will apply a True Fear debuff to that champion. Can't be blocked, can't be resisted. It's a huge, huge pain. Inquisitor Shamel is going to solve that problem for you, man. His AO1 attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of decreasing the duration of a random buff on the target by 110, which is just a nice to have into Hydra. Every time an enemy places a debuff on an ally, use this skill against that enemy. These counterattacks will only deal 50% of the normal damage and can't be critical, but it's just a little bit of a nice to have, man. Some retaliatory damage, and it does stack up over the course of a longer fight. The passive, this is where it's at, man. Each critical hit fills this champion's turn meter by 7.5% whenever an ally receives a fear or a true fear debuff from an enemy. Lovely. This skill will instantly remove the debuff and fill the team leader's turn meter by 15%. Bro, what are we doing, man? What are we doing here with this skill? This is it doesn't even have a cooldown, right? And so the Head of Torment ceases to exist. It's just a punching bag. If you've got Shamil on your team, it completely nullifies an entire mechanic in Hydra. Completely busted. I've got a 6-star Perfect Soul waiting to put on my Inquisitor Shamil just as soon as he decides to show up for me and I actually pull the guy. Yeah. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So even though his core utility on the Hydra team is utility role, right? It's just constantly cleansing the true fears and yeah, he still is, of course, an attack-based champion and still will do a reasonable amount of damage for you on your Hydra team as well. And so he's definitely worth a shout. The final champ that we're going to be covering in this video is one that I had to just wet my whistle for real quick because explaining just how good Whisper is takes just a moment of respect. You've got to take a breather before you try and tackle this. What are her ratings like, man? Okay, is she actually just underrated? Okay, she's rated 4.9 in Hydra. Fair enough. I was going to say, but these ratings did not look... did not actually look they didn't look very respectful of this champion's quality up until we got down to Hydra. So, okay, man. Whisper's kit, you got to break it down and then really think about it to consider just how good this is. She smacks, okay? She's unreal. She outperforms almost everybody's expectations from what I've seen of Whisper so far, man. So, her A1, it's an attack one enemy, chance of placing weaken for a couple turns. Lovely. Similar to Skrank, you know? Not bad, man. Weaken debuff is great to have. On the A2, here we go, man, here we go. Attacks one enemy. Okay, bookable down to a 3-turn cooldown, by the way. Attacks one enemy, plus an increased attack and increased crit rate buff on this champ for 2 turns before attacking, if the champ has higher max HP than this champion, which, fair enough. Like, if you're attacking into a boss, that's always going to be the case, so you basically always get the increased crit rate, increased attack. Will ignore defense if the target is under a weaken debuff. So just ignores 100% defense, right? You can also just build it out with 70% crit rate, which is great, because she's also bringing that buff herself. Just lovely, lovely stuff. Now the A3 and the passive, this is where things get serious, right? The A3 attacks one enemy 2 times, grants an extra turn if the target is under decreased defense and weaken debuffs. So it's kind of mandatory to bring these 2 debuffs when you're using a Whisper, right? You gotta have like very, very reliable sources of these 2. She of course brings weaken on the A1. Not always reliable that you're going to have that up at all times, just from her A1, so make sure you take care of these, guarantee that you're going to get this extra turn, right? The passive has a 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a critical hit. Increase the damage inflicted on bosses by 20%, right? So she's just a boss-killing machine, but dude, extra turn whenever this champ lands a crit, you got to bear in mind, this is a double hitter on this A2, which is also granting her an extra turn. And if I understand this correctly, you can get an extra turn from this A2, and then you can get an extra turn off the passive, kind of in the same turn, right? So there's like 2 sources of extra turns that can kind of stack, or like you can attack in with the A2, get the buff. Because it's a crit, you then get an extra turn from the passive, so then you attack in with the A3, right? You get an extra turn from this. And then you can put it in a Relentless set, and a Relentless set can get an extra turn from an extra turn as well. It's like an 18% chance to get that crap. So you put it in a Relentless set, build it with just as much damage as you possibly can, and just let her loose, man. You just unleash your Whisper. And she's an extra turn machine, and it's not totally unheard of to get like 3 extra turns in a row. And she's absolutely smacking because she deals extra damage to bosses. And yeah, this is just one of those champs that everybody kind of underestimates when they first build her out, and then you get the wheels turning on her, you get her in that Relentless set, you get her like decently fast, with that good 70% crit rate hit, and dude, she's just a killing machine, and it's crazy as hell. So Whisper is definitely one of those champs that, even though she's epic quality, she might be a void epic, so a bit harder to get your hands on, she's definitely one of those champs that you've got to build out if you have her, man. Especially if you don't have any better legendary options to bring into Hydra. Yeah, Whisper is just absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, use a champ with an AoE weaken, exactly, Insidious, man. That's it, man. Bring in a champ with an AoE weaken, decreased defense, all of that, so it's just handled, and then just release the Whisper, man. Don't try and control her, okay? She's a strong, independent woman. Just let her do her thing. and she'll pay you back tenfold, man. There you go. And hey, man, speaking of collecting these budget champions to get your hands on and get started in Hydra, maybe it's tickled your pickle a little bit to start off a new raid account, man, a new alt account, a new free-to-play adventure. If that is the case, then make sure to do so by clicking on, of course, the beginner promo link down below at the top of the video description box, man. Hit that link. Sign up to raid, you get yourself 4 free epic champions to get you started. It's just the best beginner promo link going. Are you kidding me, dude? It's absolutely insane. And yeah, all you gotta do is make sure that you are signed out of Plarium Player on PC before clicking on that link, so that when you download raid and create a new account, you guarantee you're gonna get your hands on all of those sweet, sweet, juicy rewards. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys did enjoy this one, and I'm gonna catch all of y'all just a tad bit later. And oh yeah, put down any champs that you feel like I missed down below in the comments as well, man. Help you brothers out. Alright, see you, boys.